And you're listening to WGRG 100.5 FM in Geneseo. It's Friday, October 27th, and it's time for Let's Talk Geneseo. Starting a little bit early this morning because that's just kind of where the song ended, and that's just how we do it here. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. That's City Administrator Brandon Meglin. I'm your co-host, Keith Kennett. And again, welcome to the program this morning. We're happy to have an artist in the house this morning, but also, do you know what else, Brandon? Today is a special day.
It is.
Right. Because the only person who could put up with me for 40 years is celebrating a birthday, and that would be Kim, my wife. So happy birthday to Kim.
Happy birthday, Kim.
Most special lady there is, so big shout out to her this morning.
You know, you should have brought her in. What a way to start a birthday, but to be a production assistant in the studio.
Well,
it's becoming a thing.
We could have done that. Then I could have tied that in as being part of her birthday gift.
Yeah.
Probably would have been about as exciting as getting you a vacuum or something like that. But no, she is off on child care duty with one of the grandkids. Oh. So she wouldn't have been able to do that. But anyway, happy birthday and a shout out to Kim this morning.
Yeah.
But we have in studio this morning exactly who. I know who Dave is, but I'll let you do the formal introduction.
Yes. So we are fortunate this morning to have David Smith of Smith Studio and Art Gallery joining us to talk about Scarecrow Row and all things arts today. We're going to have kind of a artsy feel to the program this morning. So welcome, David. Want to kind of start like we usually do, put Scarecrow Row to the side for a few minutes. And for the folks that don't know about your gallery or you, who is David Smith? How'd you get to Geneseo? How'd you open up this beautiful building that we have on State Street?
Okay, well, good morning, Keith and Brandon. Glad to be here this morning. So bright and early, seeing your smiles is just a great way to start a Friday. Yeah, it's a busy weekend here in Geneseo with Scarecrow Row coming up. But you asked about our studio, and I'll just start by saying studio's been open about 10 and a half years now. We've owned the building for 15. But I was a teacher in the Aurora-Naperville area, living in Downers Grove, and I was looking at retirement, and we just kind of wondered what retirement might look like. I was able to retire, and we looked at several other towns. We tried at one point to buy buildings in 3 other buildings in 2 other towns, and everything fell through. And this was a process that lasted over years. And we were sitting on some money because we had mortgaged our house to do this, and we gave it one more year, just sitting on this money. And we came to Geneseo at one point, passing through. We were actually headed to an art show that was being held in the Quad City area, and somebody said, let's go through this town of Geneseo, and it was Father's Day weekend. You can imagine what my first impression of this town was on a Father's Day weekend. It's quite outstanding.
Yeah.
We came back. We looked at it over the times. It wasn't at the top of the list when we began, but it slowly moved its way to the top. And the building we're in down there at 124 South State Street, a month later went into foreclosure. So we were able to pick it up at a time when nothing was selling. We were able to buy and get a good deal, but the building needed a lot of work. So basically, we had to take it down to the brickwork, replace all windows, most of the electrical, all the plumbing had to be replaced. But we have a building now we're quite proud of, and it's good for another 100 years. So, and that's important. We often joke with other building owners in town, every 100 years you got to rebuild a building. So the Smith Studio is designed and created to be a nice place for kids, for adults to come in and make art. I get the joy of making my art there, and then we represent over 20 artists from 5 states. We have 2 other very nice art galleries in town. The Art League has a very nice gallery, and Rutabaga Art has a very nice gallery. So we have 3 galleries in the downtown area. We talked with the chamber early on, and we explained to the chamber, if you have 3 galleries, you have an art destination. You have at least an art district. I'll say it here. I've talked to Zach about it, I believe. But if you have 5 galleries, you have an art destination. There's very few of those in the country. Probably the closest one to where we live here would be Mineral Point, Wisconsin. I encourage people to drive up there in the fall. This would be a rainy but good weekend to take in some color, drive up to Wisconsin. But on the other hand, come to Geneseo.
After Scarecrow Row, of course.
Yeah, we got, well, and after you get lunch and buy a meal and shop the town. That's the main thing for us, and we're proud to be a part of that. The retail businesses downtown, it's important for any small town like Geneseo to have retail in the downtown area. If you don't have that display in your front window, if you don't have a reason for people to come in, open their wallets and shop, and it's a constant consideration of the chamber. And we have a great head in the chamber here in town. We like working closely with them, and because of that, we help to develop Scarecrow Row. So we can get into that now, because that's the main reason for being here today. Scarecrow Row, for the public out there, if you want to come. If you want to see the kids, come at between 10 and 12 tomorrow, Saturday. But Scarecrow Row came about because in 2020, the pandemic was going on. By October, families were going nuts, and cities across the country had no idea in that first year of the pandemic whether or not they could allow trick-or-treating. Conversations I know were going on about, can we let kids go door to door? This is a problem. And I like and remind people of those TV news broadcasts where they showed people, especially I remember from the Quad Cities, creating chutes at the top of their stairs where they could shoot candy down to kids coming to their door. And any way you could do it with distancing. So, previous to 2020, we would have up to 300 kids come through our front door to get candy on the Saturday before Halloween. And that was an event called Beautiful Saturday in downtown Geneseo. And that couldn't be done. We knew it couldn't be done. Well, in the city park, we have over 540 holes that hold flagpoles, and I had been looking at those for a while. We had been looking at other possible uses for them, and I went out, got a 2x2 furring strip, and realized a 2x2 furring strip fits perfectly in those holes. And if we take one of those 8-foot furring strips, cut off 16 inches, turn it into like a giant cross, you got a perfect frame to build a Scarecrow on, and that's how Scarecrow Row kind of came about. We give out free frames at the Smith Studio. We have some wonderful sponsors I hope I can get a chance to mention here, but we pass out free frames, and you take it home, you build a Scarecrow, then at 10 o'clock, by 10 o'clock tomorrow, I'll be in the park by 9. At 10 o'clock, you show up, you drop your Scarecrow in a hole, boom, instant show. So...
Now, are there still frames available, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you only have 24 hours to... It takes, I will admit, it takes work to build a Scarecrow. It takes me about a day, and I kind of know what I'm doing. But when you get a family working together, imagine a family where the adults in the family are helping a bunch of kids, and they're all pitching in their ideas, and they're digging up clothes, and the biggest problems are probably shoes. We got to find old shoes to maybe, and you don't need shoes. Some of my Scarecrows that I bring out don't have any feet at all, but and the head is something to consider. I mean, the first head I made on a Scarecrow that shows up every year, he was Scarecrow number 1, and his name is Vincent Van Gool. And he'll be back this year, and his head is made out of a cereal box because, you dig through your recycle bin, and I go, hey, wait a minute, cereal box and a lot of duct tape, I was able to make a frame or a head.
Now, do you have to, do you encourage people to stay with their Scarecrows, or how does that work once you're at the park?
Well, if you bring your Scarecrow and you have a family, the kids are going to want to trick-or-treat. So trick-or-treating is between 10 and 12. If you want to avoid that crowd, because it's a big crowd, you can come after 12. But for people that want to bring candy, and a lot of this are businesses, and over the years, since 2020, the number of businesses participating has really grown, and we appreciate that community here in Geneseo. A business can do a theme-based scarecrow. One of the best businesses I'll give a shout out to is Geneseo Communication. Last year they did the Lily Tomlin Ernestine role, which is the lady at the switchboard. And
Clever. Like it.
They wired it for sound. The people that have been doing those scarecrows for that business here in town have done a remarkable job every year. But other people in town have done just beautiful things. Two of my all-time favorites was back in 2020, Sue Emerson in town did a wonderful natural material scarecrow that was absolutely gorgeous.
Remember that, yeah.
And she was able to take that home after the event and put it in her yard, which we encourage everybody to do with their scarecrow. Halloween is on Tuesday this year, so after Saturday, you take your scarecrow out of the park at 4 o'clock, take it home, stick it in your yard. You got something really nice.
Now, is this a competition? Are there awards?
There are several different types of awards. Everybody wins a ribbon.
Okay.
So we have a table full of ribbons that say most scary, most unusual,
Sure.
most beautiful. You can make any type of scarecrow you want. Then you go to the shelter at the park, and there'll be a table full of ribbons. Everybody gets to pick their own ribbons. We thought of awarding them the first year, but what one of the joys is, imagine a family of 4 kids, everybody pitched in and watching them argue over which ribbon they should take. So that's a lot of fun. Then, as of last year, all the sponsors get a ribbon. And the sponsors then, who help contribute financially to make sure that we have what we need to cover the cost of this, the sponsors get to just find the one they like the best and pin an extra fancy ribbon on it. So when families come back at 4 to pick up their scarecrow, it's kind of fun to see that you won one of the sponsor ribbons. But this year, brand new, through the chamber, we have a first, second, and third place prize. And we have 2 judges that are coming in, a gentleman and his wife. Just to let you know, this is all above board and very fair. He's a retired Methodist minister, and he's from out of town, doesn't know anybody else here in town except for me. So so it'll be very fair, and there'll be a first, second, and third place prize. The prize is monetary. There's an award for first place. It's in the form of a Geneseo gift card. First place, $150. Second place is $100, and third place is $50. So we're hoping this will encourage families. We have had over the years less and less scarecrows made by families, and we're hoping this might boost that number. But I totally understand how this has happened because, you know, if you're a busy family with kids, you've already done this for 2 or 3 years. This is our 4th year of doing Scarecrow Row. Yeah. And you've done this years before. You go, you know, here it comes up again. To build a scarecrow takes time. You got to make an effort, and we've done it before, so let's skip it this year. So I understand that, but we want to encourage the community to do this, families to do this, clubs, organizations. Consider if you're not doing it this year, consider it next year. We got to have those numbers in order to encourage those of us in the chamber to keep this going, because it does take an effort on our part. But that first year, 2020. We had conversations where we came to an agreement. If we could get 40 scarecrows in the park, we thought this would be successful. And that first year, we had 145.
Wow.
I mean, that was quite a show. One of my favorites that year, and the lady's been in the store a couple of times since, was a farming family in the area who took a hay bale and turned it into a minion. It was a great use of being creative. They didn't even use a frame. So you can build any type of scarecrow you want, just bring it to the park.
Yeah. Like you say, I mean, with it starting in 2020 during COVID, tough to compete with when everybody was looking for something to get out and do.
Oh,
outside.
Yeah, it was perfect because we planned an outdoor event, open air. People were still masking up back then, and we had sanitation pumps around, and all the candy back then that first year was prepackaged. We did it in my studio. Talk about candy. Boy, people just came out and contributed so much candy, and the kids we had a prepackaged bag for them. But the kids do get quite a bit of candy. So, if anybody wants to bring candy for the Scarecrow, we tell them bring 600 to 700 pieces. Again, I know, because I'm doing it, I know that costs some money, but let me just tell the public out there, this is for the kids of Geneseo. Mm-hmm. And what's nice about this event in the park, everybody, every business can participate, all in the park. And one of the joys that first year is we were encouraging businesses to pass out candy. And a couple of farm families asked me, well, can we pass out candy? We never get kids at our door, this would be, and they just love having a place where they can pass out candy. And, so the candy stuff is from 10 to 12. The Scarecrow stay till 4. You pick up your Scarecrow, then I'm back in the park at 7 cleaning it up. So let's hope that rain stays off tomorrow night.
Nice. Well, thanks for discussing that with us, Dave. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, a big shout out to Dave for putting that together. It's like, many things that happen in town, you have to have that person that has that passion and the big time commitment.
Yeah.
Like anything, there's a lot more involved in it than it may seem.
Yeah,
but
let me just state this year's sponsors, if I can.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Wiffles Hybrid, thank you very much. They were the first one to step forward and say they would like to help. Sedlock Construction, Farmers National Bank, Erdman Construction, Country Financial, Casey Stahl is very helpful there. Rutabaga Arts, Rule and Rule, Chris On there is very, very helpful, wants to support this. And, of course, we have the Smith Studio and Gallery who helps to swing and put this together along with the Geneseo Chamber.
Nice. So, and frames still available, so you can stop by and see Dave today if you want to do a last-minute one. But, yeah, you have a good 24 hours to get it ready, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something fancy. Just be creative.
No, it doesn't have to be. The frames are free. Just stop by the studio, and we give you a sheet of instructions to help guide you.
Well, you can't beat that.
On the same art theme today, Dave, you're heavily involved in the mural project in Geneseo.
Yes.
You and I both serve on that committee with the Chamber. I did want to let you speak about or question you on, we've seen you out behind your building here recently contributing to the murals in town. So tell us about your mural back there and what you're doing.
I snuck that in behind the back of the city manager here.
The sneaky mural.
Yeah. So the back of my building, when we first acquired the building 15 years ago, worked on it, somewhere along the line, some people have seen it. If anybody wants to see, I can show you the drawings that we drew to wrap my building in murals. I call it the 1,000-hour project. If I had 1,000 hours of free time, I could probably paint those murals. Well, I don't have that time. But the murals have developed. I know there's opinions on both sides as to whether murals should be there or not. But for the most part, the community has really accepted this. And they love the murals. They love the history. They love the joy of the colors that they see. And let me just say something about the people that own those buildings. Thank you. Because I've been one of the leads in talking to business people. I myself am a business person with a building. And my building has been on the list of possible mural buildings. But for those in the know, my building was last painted 12 years ago, and it was painted with a primer. It's cinder block. It wasn't looking all that good after 12 years because you got to paint a building every now and then. So I recently painted it. And I still had some of that original primer paint left over that was just a few shades lighter than the new color that the back of the building is. And so I took it, I painted, how tall is that, 25 feet?
At least, yeah.
A corn stalk, one single corn, 25, and it's a linear drawing, painting. I think it turned out pretty nice for being as tall as it is. And there's a corn stalk there. I'm calling the mural Thank a Farmer. So having moved to Geneseo in the recent past and enjoying this farm community, and then there's 4 words across it: think, create, inspire, dream. Those are words in our business that we identified. Well, we've been in business over 10 years, so it's more than that. We identified those as words that mark our business. And I think those are just good words. But we painted this mural very lightly on that building. So if you don't look at it, you can miss it. But it's old signs, like a lot of people know down State Street, the Sue B bread sign, and that's called a ghost sign. And I've heard from many people say, "Oh, we could paint that in, make it look better." No, no, no. You do not touch a Go sign. You wouldn't throw a coat of paint on your 1800s little table that you have sitting beautifully in your dining room.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, some
Yeah, you-
people.
I'll be using the paint stripper later. Sorry.
Yeah, you keep the historic look. Anyway, look up Go signs. It's a wonderful thing. Communities have embraced it. Big towns have written books about the Go signs in their towns, and there's wonderful Go signs in towns all over. Anyways, I painted the mural on my building to kind of resemble that, to be very light, just subtle, something you can look at, figure out. But thank you for mentioning that. But my point is, and for the mural committee, is the point is murals can be done in all sorts of different ways. I have had people tell me that they thought murals had to be painted on brick, had to be big and colorful. No. Keep a wide open mind. Murals can be done in all sorts of different ways. And I'd be glad to have this conversation anytime if anybody wants to stop in the studio. But if people are interested in getting a mural on their building, the committee plans to go through 2 murals this next year. There was some mention of maybe a third, but there's ideas. Nothing's set yet.
Yeah, we're funded
So-
through 2024 for 2 more next year.
Yeah. So it's a work in progress, and then this committee, 3-year committee, should end. But they've made quite a statement in addition to the community. I was surprised first time seeing this community 15 years ago. At that time, there was no public mural anywhere in town, and that's very unusual for a Midwest small community. And we got some wonderful mural artists in this area.
One of the things that I'm really looking forward to is when we have multiple murals up now, and there's signage going up. There's some already posted. There's a couple going up soon to tell you about the history of what the painting is of. But eventually here we're going to see links to the Chamber's website. We'll link it on the city website where somebody visiting town, like you did many years ago, may be able to go and take a tour and see all of the different murals, and even private businesses that are painting things will have kind of all that information on there. People can do a walking tour and see them.
Yeah, and this type of pride is contagious.
Yeah.
I learned that as a very young homeowner. You do something on your house, your neighbor does something on their house, next thing you know, things are changing in the neighborhood. So, I mean, there are buildings in town that need work. We all know that. And we hope that, whether it's a coat of paint or a major remodel, I mean, you look at Red Barn. Boy, did they do a good job on that building.
Yeah.
So...
Well, absolutely. And, being familiar with Dave when you first came to town and knew what that building was like when you started with it, it's been a wonderful addition to the community. And that was actually kind of there's kind of a bit of an ebb and flow as you look back in the history of downtown. But that was, one of the early ones that kind of reignited some renewals and improvements and stuff in town. And here it is all these years later and still volunteering and still involved, and what an asset to the community, and appreciate all you do for the town, Dave.
And Keith, you're absolutely right. There is an ebb and flow to these developments. If something happens over a period of years, that relaxes a little bit. Somebody comes in, something else is done, and hopefully these murals will spark just a little bit of paint somewhere. If anybody out there says, "Well, I have a spot, I'd like to put some paint," come talk to me, please.
Well, and again, we appreciate you coming in this morning, Dave. There's it's a busy weekend, so Scarecrow Road tomorrow from 10 to 12 for the candy handout, but all day long just to go and check the scarecrows out. It's of course a bit of a busy weekend here in Geneseo. School wise, there's some things going on up at Richmond Hill Park. There's a big cross country sectional that Geneseo is hosting tomorrow, so that's going to bring a lot of visitors to the community. So hopefully even a lot of them afterwards will head over, and it's a wonderful coincidence to have that happening at a similar time to where they can come and check that out. But good luck to the cross country teams here in Geneseo as they compete tomorrow. Of course, today the marching band is off to St. Louis on a big trip. They're going to the Bands of America Super Regional. This is kind of a first for them, but this is a national competition taking place at the that's where the Rams used to play in St. Louis. They call it the Dome, Unidome. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but they'll be there through the weekend competing with, I believe, 66 or more bands from across the the United States. So they're looking forward to that. And tomorrow, Geneseo makes the trip later on in the day to Elmhurst for a 5 o'clock playoff game against Immaculate Conception High School in Elmhurst. So always things happening in good old Geneseo, but a little bit of a rundown on some bigger things happening here, school-related. And Brandon, I know you have a few things also.
Yeah. Do want to mention that tomorrow at the Central Bank Theater, the movie Generation Found is going to be showing. 9 out of 10 people that suffer from substance abuse disorder started using in adolescence. Teen overdose deaths have doubled from 2010 to 2021. It's time to come together as a community to discuss resources and raise awareness in our area. Generation Found is a powerful story about how one community ignited a youth addiction recovery revolution in their hometown. So that's a little bit of a summary of what this movie is about. This is sponsored by the Impact Team, the ROSC, Rotary of Geneseo, and the Park District are putting this on. There's also going to be a live panel discussion after the movie with some folks with lived experiences in this arena, along with the Impact Team being there. So an important thing going on. It's free. If you can make it out there, encourage people to stop by.
And again, that's at Central Theater tomorrow. What times?
1 p.m.
Okay.
It all starts. Yep.
Scarecrow Row, get some candy, maybe a little lunch, head over to the theater at 1. It's all good.
Yeah, and then, of course, as Dave mentioned earlier, Tuesday, save your scarecrow. It is Halloween on Tuesday. Looks like it's going to be very cold at night, so that'll be interesting. But trick-or-treat is from 4 to 7, so the sun will still be out. Hopefully be nice that day.
Yes.
Yep. Do want to mention we have a few more minutes here. Some things that you see going on out and about around town, kind of some things going on with the city council agendas. City council this past Tuesday did finalize approval for a 29-unit condominium development. That's on the north side of Olivia Drive, kind of right across from Woodridge and what people call the townhomes there. This is a planned 29-unit development of market rate condos there. Should be a really nice addition to the community. Something we talk quite often about on economic development planning committees and with the city council, other boards, the need for housing and transitional housing, where some of the homes in town, there may be folks that want to transition to that single level structure. Maybe you're just down to 2 folks in your family, want to stay in Geneseo because of the amenities and great things happening. But the old family home is just a little bit too large, and it's time to downsize. This is something we often talk about, and an opportunity for more of those units.
Yeah, this will be similar to in a local developer doing this. It'll be similar to, if you're familiar on Ash Street, there's kind of a block or so of condominiums and other places in town as well. And yeah, just like Brandon said, whether it's bringing someone housing for somebody new to town, or again you have that multi-level house with a lot of steps and stairs and all those things, and you just want everything on one nice level. It'll be these types of facilities, so it's nice growth to have in the community, and we think there's going to be a lot of interest and demand for them.
Yeah. Some other things you see going on out and about Oakwood and State Street. We have what we call the historical landing area, concrete going in. You see a lot of movement down there. We're going to have the historical boulder marking the first log cabin in Geneseo. Nice little landing pad to sit down and walk if you're walking on Oakwood down by the commercial business district. You're seeing the footings going in for the Welcome to Geneseo sign on the north side of that property, and then we have flagpoles currently being shipped in. We'll see a 3 flagpole system going up there too, all lit up. Should be a beautiful addition to, and it's been on Keith's radar, I know, for many years, to have kind of that nice welcoming mat for when folks come in off of Interstate 80 and you're driving in towards downtown, to have that nice welcome area there.
Yeah, so we're anxious to have that going, and most of it will be installed still this year, but there will be things that will happen in the spring, and so far as more landscaping related, but it'll be a nice plan, and then hopefully down the road we're able to have possibly down more towards the Central Bank sign, but it's still on the radar screen about having a pedestrian access across the creek to avoid having to actually literally be walking on State Street, I guess, to get across in that area. So that's still on a kind of almost, or part of the project, kind of like a phase 2 forward. And unfortunately, though, the original plan, we are putting the boulder marking the spot of the first log cabin in Geneseo, and it's not in that exact spot. It's kind of maybe a little bit more closer to State Street or over kind of by Pizza Hut, but it's close enough for us to commemorate that. And it's better than the original thing, which was to have a hologram of Brandon and I just kind of rotating in that area.
Dave was going to design it for us.
We had some people on board, but there was an intervention by the mayor and council, so we probably is more appropriate to have the historic boulder there.
Yep. And then, of course, a lot of folks see we've put out a lot of notifications, social media website about the water project going on 2nd Street in Oakwood, right in front of City Hall Fire Department. A little bit of a mess there right now. Some traffic blockages there as we work to replace a very critical area of a water main that was in very poor condition and had broken, caused folks some heartburn here the past couple of years with springing a leak a couple of different times. So that project moved up the list and is going to get done here before the snow flies this year.
And that was, I don't want to say it wasn't on the radar screen, but that did start as a leak. We would have the option to just go in and just spot repair that leak, but we also recognize that whole section is bad.
Yeah.
And made a decision, just go in, do it once, do it right, and be done with it. So that's why it's a bit more of a project, but we won't have to be digging sometimes that happens. You have a hole and then you look 50 foot away and there's another hole, 6 months later.
Yeah.
And we're trying to avoid doing those things when we can.
Yeah. And then lastly, I would like to mention that next week we are starting a new segment that we're really excited about with Mark Grabichetsky. It's going to be called Let's Talk Money with Mark. Mark is a local financial expert from Geneseo. Folks have probably seen him appear Monday mornings on WQAD. He does a Let's Talk Money segment there. As you can hear, we have our nice fade-out music from the high school in the background.
That's our hint to hit the road, Dave.
That day, we're also going to be joined by Jamie Matthews, the Treasurer and Finance Director with the City of Geneseo. Talk some things about the financial condition of the city, the tax levy, how that works, what does it mean when you get that tax bill, what's the city's stake in that bill. So it'll kind of be a financial day next week. And then we're off on the following show, 11/10 is Veterans Day. So there will be no broadcast that day.
No, and still to be worked out. But then that following Friday, and we'll announce this in advance. But had mentioned it before. We have the ability to do a show on the road, but maybe that Friday before Thanksgiving, because we'll be off for Thanksgiving. Maybe that's the time we do the show on the road. Maybe we go to McDonald's. Maybe we go to the donut shop.
Yeah,
but
I like it.
It will be something memorable.
All right.
There you go.
Keith's going to surprise me. I like this.
Yes. But anyway, so with that, though, we know that we need to get going. So we appreciate everybody listening this morning. And we hope you have a great weekend. And we will talk to you next Friday. This is WGRG 100.5 FM in Geneseo.